Welcome back to Aisha Stories. We love having you here. Before we get started, please kindly subscribe and turn on the notification icon so we can bring you more amazing stories. Traffic crawled. Horns screamed. The smell of roasted corn danced in the air. Lagos was breathing hard like it always did. Loud, alive, and unapologetically fast. Inside Prime Galleria Mall, everyone moved like they had somewhere more important to be. In the middle of it all, wearing faded blue overalls and pushing a mop bucket, was a man no one paid attention to. Some even stepped around him like he was part of the floor. His name tag said Monday. But most didn't even care to look that far. To them, he was just the cleaner. "Shift this thing, Abeg," snapped Kimi, one of the store attendants in a tight wig and tighter jeans. She bumped his bucket with her foot, rolling her eyes like she had just been insulted. Monday gave a small nod and rolled it aside. Two boys by the elevator whispered and laughed. "That man don't day here since, ABI. Cleaner we no day ever go house," the other chuckled. He heard every word, but his face stayed calm. That quiet kind of calm that can be dangerous if you're really paying attention. Only no one was. A woman with a clipboard stormed past. She worked for a popular fashion store on the second floor. Loud. Proud. She never smiled at anyone below her pay grade. She pointed at Monday without stopping. "That spill better be gone in 5 minutes or you're getting reported." Then she disappeared into the lift like she'd just fired someone important. Monday stared at the floor for a moment, then walked away slowly. But not toward the mess. Instead, he pushed his bucket toward the far end of the mall where fewer people walked. He disappeared behind the service door no one cared to look at. A door painted the same boring gray as the walls. Inside was a world that didn't look like the outside. Clean white tiles. Soft lighting. A hallway that led to a private elevator. Monday stepped in and pressed a button no cleaner should know. As the lift hummed upward, he rolled his sleeves up. Beneath the blue overalls was a gold wristwatch. Not loud. Not obvious. But clean and real. The kind of watch people in offices wear when they sign big deals. When the elevator doors opened, it wasn't to some janitor's storeroom. It was a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Leather chairs. A desk with 2 phones. Not a speck of dust in sight. Monday walked in, pulled off the overalls, hung them neatly by the door, and sat behind the desk. His real name was Damilare Olo, and he owned the entire building. Everything, from the small ice cream kiosk downstairs to the rooftop restaurant that charged $25,000 for a plate of pasta, belonged to him. But no one knew. Not yet. He sat there quietly, watching the monitors on his screen. Every corner of the mall was visible. He watched as Kimi gossiped at the counter. As the boys who laughed at him tried to sneak an energy drink past the cashier. As the woman with the clipboard berated another staff like she was born to command. He leaned back, smiled just a little. Let them laugh. Let them keep talking. They had no idea what was coming. And he had no plan to rush it. There's something sweeter about silence, especially when it comes before a storm. And Damilare was patient. Very patient. The next morning, the mall doors slid open at exactly 8 a.m. Sunlight spilled through the glass and bounced off the marble floors. Shoppers hadn't arrived yet, but staff were already rushing in. Some dragging sleepy feet, some chewing meat pies, most glued to their phones. Music played softly through the speakers. It was just loud enough to fill the silence but not enough to make anyone stop and listen. Damilare was back in his blue overalls. Mop in hand. Same calm face. The same eyes that had watched everyone from behind glass the night before. He moved quietly past the perfume shop, where Kimi was already rearranging bottles she never sold. She gave him a side-eye glance, scoffed, and whispered to her colleague. "See this man again. Does he sleep here?" Her friend laughed. "You never know. Maybe day squat for storage room." They both giggled like children. Damilare kept walking. In the electronics store, The two boys from yesterday were busy unboxing a new flat screen. One of them, Toby, smacked his lips. "Abig, Monday, come clean this thing. This place stay dusty like your face." The other one, Say, burst into laughter. "You go just day walker up and down with that your mop. No be small joblessness." Damalair looked at them briefly, smiled, and went about his work. He cleaned the spot with the same attention he'd give to signing a contract. Nothing rushed. No emotion on his face. Behind the scenes, in his private office upstairs, the cameras were recording everything. Not for revenge. No. Damalair wasn't looking for petty payback. He was building a story. One that needed time. One that needed patience. He knew who he was. He didn't need to prove it. Not yet. At noon, he stood near the escalator, cleaning a handrail. The mall was now in full swing. Mothers with screaming toddlers. Teenage girls filming TikToks. Bankers on their lunch break. The air smelled like fried chicken and hair product. And under it all, people still walked past Damalair like he was a stain on the floor. One of the security guards came up behind him. He was new, young, freshly hired and full of himself. "Ogre," he said, puffing his chest. "No stand here, oh management say no loitering." Damalair turned slowly. His voice was steady. "I'm cleaning. You can check the rota." The guard scoffed. "You day argue with me? UWAN make I call manager for you." But before Damalair could reply, the mall's general manager walked past, Mr. Fatai. A short, always sweating man in oversized shirts and loud ties. He gave Damalair a quick, dismissive wave. "Cleaner, a big shift from here. Don't cause traffic." Then, turning to the guard, he muttered, "Make sure these people day do their job well. NADM day drag this mall back." The security guy nodded like a soldier who just won a war. Damalair watched them go. No anger. No words. Just that same small smile tugging at his lips. Later that evening, when the shops were closing and staff were packing up, Damalair slipped away again. Past the emergency exit. Through the same grey door. Into the quiet luxury of his private floor. His assistant was waiting, seated at the desk with her laptop open. Her name was Amaka. Smart. Sharp. Trusted. She stood when she saw him. "Sir, you won't believe the things I heard today," she said, not hiding her irritation. Damalair removed the overalls and sank into his chair. "I believe. I saw everything." She pulled up a few clips from the surveillance recordings. "That girl from the fashion store said you smell like mop water. She's the same one that sent you to clean a spill by the loading dock." He nodded. "Good. Let them talk." Amaka crossed her arms. "They mock you daily. They treat you like you're nothing. This could be a lawsuit in the making." Damalair looked at her, calm as ever. "But then I'll miss the fun." Amaka stared at him. "Fun?" He leaned forward. "What's better than watching a person's mouth drop when they find out everything they thought was true, was wrong?" Silence filled the room for a few seconds. Then he continued. "I didn't build this place to be worshipped. I built it to understand people. I want to see how they treat someone when they think they'll never need him." Amaka sighed. "So what's the plan? You going to wait till they bow down?" Damalair smiled. "No. I'm going to let them bury themselves in their own pride. Then, when the time is right, I'll simply show them who signed their paychecks." A knock came at the door. It was a courier, delivering confidential documents. Property expansion. New branches. Deals worth billions. The man looked around, confused. "Sorry, is this the manager's office?" Amaka smiled. "This is the owner's office." The courier blinked. Then blinked again. "Oh, wow, sorry. I thought never mind." After the man left, Damalair turned to the window. He watched the last few workers exit the mall. Some still laughing. some cursing out loud about customers. Some, like Kimi, taking selfies in the empty corridor. He whispered to himself, one more day. He could feel it. The day they'd all find out. And when it came, it wouldn't be loud. It would be quiet, clean, perfect. Because sometimes, the loudest thing in the room is silence. And Damelair had been silent for long enough. The mall opened late the next morning. Power issue, they said. But the lights were on. The escalators were moving. The AC was humming. Everything looked normal, but something felt off. The staff came in whispering. Some looked confused. Others looked nervous. No one had seen Monday the cleaner. Kimi was the first to ask, not out of concern, but habit. Where's that your best friend, the mop man? She asked her colleague while applying lip gloss in the reflection of the store's glass. I never see him since, the girl replied. Maybe him finally pack comet. Kimi scoffed. Good. He just day walker around like spirit. Abeg. But by midday, the questions became louder. People started noticing strange things. The two boys from the electronics store tried to open their shop and found the locks had been changed. Their boss, who usually came in before everyone else, wasn't picking calls. Kimi's manager was locked out of the inventory system. Her keycard wasn't working. The woman with the clipboard came downstairs in heels sharp enough to stab. Who is playing games? She snapped at the security guard. Why is my access blocked? The guard shrugged. NA same thing everywhere. DEM say make everybody report to the atrium. Emergency staff meeting. That had never happened before. Not on a weekday. Not at peak hour. By 2 p.m., all staff were gathered in the center of the mall. Stores were shut. Gates pulled down. Phones buzzing with messages from angry customers outside who were being turned away. Confusion thick in the air. Mr. Fatai, the general manager, stood in the middle sweating more than usual. His tie was loose. His face was pale. He held a paper in his hand but kept looking around like someone had tied his brain into a knot. Amaka stepped forward instead. Calm. Confident. Hair neatly packed. A black suit that fit her like it had been tailored that morning. Good afternoon, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You've all been called here for an important announcement. There's been a change in the management structure of Prime Galleria. Heads turned. Whispers followed. Kimi rolled her eyes. Abeg, who dey change what? Just give us our schedule. Amaka ignored her. She continued, some of you have worked here for months. Some for years. You've seen faces come and go. You've served hundreds of customers. But in all that time, you've also ignored one face. Over. And over. Silence spread like cold wind. Amaka turned toward the elevator. All eyes followed. The doors slid open. And out walked Damelair. But this time, there were no overalls. He wore a charcoal suit. Simple. Sharp. A dark tie. No jewelry, except the same watch that had always been hiding under his sleeve. His steps were quiet but firm. His face still calm. Still patient. But now, something in his eyes made people step back without knowing why. He stopped at the center. Looked around slowly. Everyone was staring at him like they were seeing a ghost. Even Mr. Fatai looked lost. What's this? What's going on? Damelair looked at him. You don't recognize me. Mr. Fatai frowned. You're the janitor. Monday. A small smile. No. That's what you called me. But my name is Damelair Olo. And I own Prime Galleria. The silence that followed was so deep it almost felt alive. Eyes widened. Mouths dropped. People blinked like they were hoping they had heard wrong. Kimi took a step back, her face pale. You're lying. That can't be. Amaka handed a folder to Mr. Fatai. This is the proof. Ownership documents. Registration. Full legal rights. He's not just the owner. He's your boss. Every contract in this building has his signature on it. The two boys from the electronics store were frozen, like statues. One of them whispered, "Omo." Damelaire turned to the crowd. "Some of you mocked me, laughed at me, called me names, treated me like I was invisible." He looked directly at the security guard who once threatened to call management. "You saw a man with a mop and thought he was nothing." He turned to the woman with the clipboard. "You used my name like an insult. And yet, I signed your employment letter." He walked past them slowly, calmly. "You all thought I was beneath you. But you forgot one thing. You never know who's watching." People began shifting on their feet. Some avoiding his eyes. Some trying to remember if they had ever been kind to him. He stopped and looked at the general manager. "Mr. Fatai, from this moment forward, your role is terminated. Your replacement will be announced tomorrow." Fatai's jaw dropped. "What? You can't." "I already did." The man's face crumpled like paper. Damelaire turned to the rest. "This place will be changing. Some of you will grow with it. Others will be replaced. But this time, I'll be watching as myself." He gave a small nod to a marker, then walked back toward the elevator. Before stepping in, he turned once more. "One last thing. Never forget what today feels like. Because how you treat people when you think they're nothing says everything about who you really are." The doors closed behind him. He didn't need to say more. Downstairs, people began murmuring. Kimi looked like she might faint. The clipboard woman walked away quietly for the first time in her life. The two boys stood still, their earlier jokes now hanging in the air like ghosts. And upstairs, in his office, Damelaire looked out the window at the city of Lagos. He sipped his coffee slowly. Calm. Satisfied. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't pointed fingers. But he had changed everything. With silence. With patience. With power they never saw coming. Because sometimes the man you step over is the one who built the floor you're walking on. 3 days had passed since the reveal. But inside Prime Galleria, time felt like it had slowed down. Everyone was still talking. In whispers. In gasps. In dropped jaws and awkward silence whenever Damelaire walked by. This time in neatly pressed shirts, slacks, and the kind of shoes that didn't squeak. He had not disappeared behind the scenes again. No more mops. No more overalls. No more folding himself into the background. Now, he walked the floors of his mall with quiet confidence. And no one dared to stop him. Kimi had barely said a word since. Her makeup routine was now shorter. She no longer stopped to take selfies by the mirrors. Even her walk had changed. Slower, more unsure. On the 4th day, she stood near the food court, trying to organize a shipment with shaking hands when a marker approached her. "You're Kimi, right?" Kimi blinked quickly. "Yes. Yes, Ma." A marker didn't smile. Mr. Olo asked for a list of everyone who has been involved in customer complaints. "We're reviewing behavior records." Kimi's lips parted. No words came out. She nodded like a robot. Across the mall, the two boys from the electronics store were on their best behavior. Toby wore a dress shirt for the first time in his life. He now called customers Sir and Ma with a kind of nervous energy that made even the customers uncomfortable. Sei, who used to sneak behind the shelves to scroll Instagram, was now mopping the front of their shop. Irony at its sharpest. No one knew who would be next to go. That's what made it worse. The fear of not knowing. The memory of how they treated Monday was now a heavy thing sitting on all their chests. But Damelaire didn't fire anyone else. Not yet. Instead, he changed the rules. He walked into each store, not as a stranger, but as their boss. And he asked simple questions. What do you love about working here? When last did you get recognized for doing something right? If you were me, what would you change? Some employees gave honest answers. Some mumbled and avoided eye contact. A few started crying mid-sentence. Not because they were sad, but because they couldn't believe they were finally being seen. And through it all, Dammler listened. Then he started shifting things. The woman with the clipboard, her name was Ada, was moved from her position entirely. She walked into the mall on Friday morning and saw someone else sitting at her desk. No warning. No ceremony. Just a plain envelope that said, "Your new post begins at the warehouse next week. Report time, 6:30 a.m. She nearly dropped her handbag. When she saw Dammler later that afternoon near the escalators, she marched toward him. "Sir, I believe there's been a misunderstanding." He looked at her calmly. "No misunderstanding. But I've been here for years." "I know," he said, interrupting her. "That's why you're not fired." She swallowed hard. "Warehouse? But you once told a cleaner to clean a floor that wasn't dirty, just because you could." He leaned in slightly. "Now you'll understand what it means to work in the part of this business where people don't wear suits." Then he walked away. No anger. Just consequence. But not everything was punishment. A young girl named Remy who worked at a smoothie kiosk, a shy, polite staff who once offered Dammler a free cup on a hot day without knowing who he was, got the surprise of her life when her pay doubled. She was also moved to customer relations and began training under a marker. When she asked why, a marker said, "Because when everyone else saw a nobody, you saw a person." By the end of the week, Dammler held a general meeting. Every staff, every cleaner, every guard, every cashier, all gathered again in the atrium. But this time, there were no locks on doors. No fear in the air. Just curiosity. He stood in the center. No suit. Just a plain black shirt and jeans. A mic in hand. The same calm face. "I've walked these halls as a cleaner, a ghost, and now as your boss," he began. "And I've seen things no survey or report could ever show me." He paused. "Let that hang. I saw kindness in small corners. I saw cruelty in smiles. I saw who helped when no one was watching, and who only behaved when they were." He looked around. This mall is not made of marble and glass. It's made of people. You. Your behavior. Your attitude. Your respect. That's what customers feel when they walk in. He turned slowly. "From now on, every employee will be treated with equal respect, no matter their job title. That means the cleaner gets the same good morning as the store manager. That means no more looking down on anyone because they wear a different uniform." Applause broke out. Not loud. Not all at once. But it grew, like a wave. One person, then two, then the whole room. Not because they were told to clap, but because something about what he said felt like oxygen. Then he added, "To make sure this happens, every team will take turns shadowing the other. Store staff will clean. Cleaners will work front desk. Security will learn customer care. 1 day each. Every month." Gasps. Then nervous laughter. Then silence. That way, Dammler smiled. No one forgets what it feels like to stand in someone else's shoes. And for the first time since the reveal, he laughed. Soft. Genuine. Then he did something no one expected. He stepped away from the mic and walked down into the crowd. No guard around him. No assistant at his side. Just him, shaking hands, smiling, asking people their names like they weren't afraid of him anymore. Because Dammler never wanted fear. He wanted growth. And in the city of Lagos, where power usually screamed, Dammler had whispered his way to respect. Not by shouting. Not by threatening. But by reminding people of something deeper. That greatness doesn't always wear a suit. And that the real boss is the one who doesn't need to say he is. They just feel it. And now, they did. If you want to see how this story unfolds and watch every twist and turn, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss the next episodes. There's so much more coming, and you'll want to be here when it happens. Stay tuned and stay with us.